If you told me yesterday that the biggest threat to the Apple ecosystem this year wouldn't come from Samsung or Google, but from a $2,000 crop sensor camera made by Nikon, I would have laughed in your face. I mean, honestly, I'll believe it when I see it, right? But the latest leaks surrounding the Nikon Z90 are basically the nuclear option for content creators. You guys know how much we obsess over ProRes and seamless integration here on the channel. But this new Mini Z9 is bringing internal 6K Red RAW to a body that costs less than a base model MacBook Pro. Are you actually going to keep paying the Apple tax for incremental video upgrades on your phone when Nikon is offering literal Hollywood cinema tech for $2,000? Usually, I'm waiting on Mark Gurman to drop his Sunday newsletter or refreshing Twitter to see if Ming-Chi Kuo has any updates on TSMC 3nm yields for the next M-series Mac. But lately, the entire supply chain chatter has completely pivoted away from Cupertino. Even top-tier display and component leakers like Ross Young and Shrimp Apple Pro have been tracking these massive shifts in sensor allocations. The data coming out of international supply chain trackers like DG Times, the ELEC, and Nikkei Asia all point to a massive production ramp-up for a brand new 33-megapixel stack CMOS sensor. Mako Takara recently hinted at mysterious component shortages in the premium mirrorless market, and now we know exactly why. Nikon is hoarding all the good silicon for the Z90. Now, why does a stacked sensor actually matter for your daily driver? It is all about speed, bandwidth, and data readout. By stacking the memory directly onto the sensor, Nikon has effectively eliminated the rolling shutter issues that plague almost every other APS-C camera out there. We are talking about staggering burst rates of up to 120 frames per second. If you're shooting fast-moving motorsports or tracking a falcon in flight, your subject won't look like a warped, jello-like mess. The Z90 is expected to inherit the entire flagship autofocus suite from the $5,000 Z9, including that crazy AI-driven bird and vehicle detection powered by the X7 processor. Wait, really? A crop sensor camera getting the exact same computational brain as the flagship? Yes, and that is terrifying for the competition. Speaking of flagships, what is your current A-cam setup right now? Let me know down in the comments, because this next part might legitimately make you want to sell on eBay today. Let's talk about the video specs, because this is where the Nikon and Red Digital Cinema acquisition turns from a neat business headline into a massive problem for Sony and Canon. Everyone expected Red's color science to slowly trickle down into the Z9 or Z8 through a firmware update. Nobody, and I mean nobody, expected the Z90 to be the first APS-C camera in history to leverage this professional tech natively. We are looking at 4K 60 frames per second oversampled from 6K, which is going to give you some of the absolute sharpest footage in this price bracket. But the actual mic drop is the 6K internal red code RAW. For years, filmmakers have had to drop thousands of dollars on external monitors and heavy rigs just to get this kind of flexibility in post-production. By bringing Red's legendary compression algorithms right into the camera body, Nikon is handing independent creators a legitimate B-cam for high-end productions. The dynamic range and color grading flexibility you will get from these files simply do not exist in the current crop sensor market. You can literally pull professional grade stills straight from the video files that, of course, with all that massive data processing, heat management is the giant elephant in the room. We have all seen smaller bodies suffer from aggressive thermal throttling when shooting high bitrate video. Looking at you, Canon, and frankly, looking at some of those fanless MacBook Airs. But sources indicate Nikon designed the Z90 with a highly sophisticated passive cooling system, utilizing the magnesium alloy chassis itself as a giant heat sink. While it doesn't have an active internal fan like a dedicated cinema rig, it is expected to handle long-form 4K recording in most professional environments without breaking a single sweat. This extreme reliability is exactly what the professional US and European markets demand. The build quality also proves Nikon isn't treating this like a disposable consumer toy. The leaks suggest they are completely ditching the slim, lightweight trend of the Z50 series and going for a true mini flagship build. We're talking about a deep ergonomic grip, full weather sealing identical to the mighty Z8, and a dedicated AF on button, which are features often stripped away from mid-range cameras to save a few bucks. The back of the camera is rumored to rock a 4-axis tilting screen, just like the Z9. That is a massive win for photographers who shoot from awkward angles but absolutely despise those vlogger-style flip-out screens that constantly get blocked by L brackets and external cables. And connectivity is like Nikon actually listened to working professionals for once. We are finally getting a full-sized HDMI port. No more dealing with those fragile, finicky micro HDMI cables that snap if you look at them wrong. Storage is where it gets super interesting. Rumors point to dual card slots, but a very specific split setup. You get one CF Express Type B slot to handle the insane 120 frames per second bursts and a heavy 6K RAW video, alongside one standard UHS-2 SD card slot for quick backups. This is the perfect compromise, giving you extreme speed when you need it, while letting you use your existing, cheaper SD card for less demanding tasks. Now, let's address the $2,000 price tag. At first glance, paying $2,000 for a crop sensor body sounds a bit steep, especially when entry-level full-frame cameras are dropping in price every month. But you really have to look at the value proposition here. To get a stack sensor, 120 frames per second, and internal RAW video in a full-frame body, you are spending at least double that price. The Z90 isn't competing with entry-level stuff. Its real rivals are the high-end Sony a6700, the Canon EOS R7, and the Fujifilm X-H2S. The Sony a6700 is a great little camera, but it completely lacks the stacked sensor speed. The Canon R7 is fast, but it doesn't have the rugged build quality or the legendary video pedigree of Nikon's new RED integrated system. The Fuji X-H2S is probably the closest direct competitor, but Nikon's professional lens ecosystem and drastically superior AI autofocus tracking give it a massive edge for anyone who demands pure performance. The only potential hurdle I see is the dedicated DX lens lineup. The Z-mount is incredibly versatile, but Nikon's native crop lenses are definitely lacking compared to Fuji's massive catalog. But here is the secret weapon. Most people buying this camera will just throw their professional S-line full-frame glass on it. When you mount a 70 to 200mm f/2.8 lens on the Z90, that 1.5x crop factor turns it into a 105 to 300mm f/2.8 powerhouse. You're getting crazy extra reach without losing any of that high-speed data readout. It becomes a specialized tool for sports and wildlife that full-frame cameras physically struggle to match at this price point. Nikon is apparently holding back the official announcement until the RED integration is absolutely flawless. When this thing hits shelves later this year, it isn't just going to compete, it is going to lead. It is a bold move, but if anyone can pull off a true mini Z9, it's the engineers at Nikon. They have been on an absolute tear lately. I am definitely keeping a close eye on the final production leaks, but I want to pass the question off to you. Does the addition of 6K RED RAW and stacked sensor technology make the Z90 your next upgrade? Or are you sticking with your current rig? Let's argue about it down in the comments. I'll be back with more exclusive tech breakdowns very soon, so hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one.